Hi everyone and welcome to Book Boop. My name is Rachel and today I have a video I'm really excited to do. I think it's a super fun concept, but before I jump into that, you may notice that I'm in a little different spot for filming today. These are my new bookshelves. It's only half of them. I have 6 new bookshelves, all just 3 shelves high, and they span all the way across this wall, and I love them. I am in love with them so much. They're beautiful and I loved decorating them, and I can't wait to decorate them for fall, and I'm just so glad to have them, and they're really, really cool. So I'm excited to be filming in front of them today. Also, disclaimer, if you happen to hear lots of noises, my husband's mowing right now, there's kids playing outside, so if you hear lots of background noise, I am so sorry, but I don't know when I can do this to where there isn't going to be background noise. So I apologize if you're able to hear that. But here's the concept of the video today. So I'm wanting to see what my top 10 books that I've read according to Goodreads on my read shelf. What I mean by that is, sure, there's way I've rated books, but I want to see what overall Goodreads says are the top 10 books that I have read. I got this idea from the channel Meg with Books, and I will link her channel down below if you want to check her out. She just did this exact same concept, I think a week ago, and I really loved the idea of the video. I thought it was so fun, and I wanted to do it myself. So thank you to Meg for this amazing idea, and I just wanted to give her credit where credit is due. But my husband, as sweet as he is, he actually looked up on Goodreads for me and put a different book on each note card in an envelope because I wanted a complete reaction to what these are. I didn't want to see them all at once on my laptop. I wanted to see one book at a time what they are. So he wrote down the name of the book and what Goodreads says the average rating is, and I'm going to go work backwards. I'm going to work from number 10 all to number 1, or what Goodreads rates as my number 1 book that I have read on Goodreads. So let's go ahead and jump in. I think this is going to be a good time. All right, let's see what the first book is. So number 10 is A Tale of Witchcraft by Chris Colfer. Interesting. Okay, that's actually this book right here. I'm not going to go in too much to what each book is about, but this is like a fairy tale explosion mashup series. It's a middle grade series and it's fantastic, and it is really good. So the average rating it has is a 4.5, which was quite high. I agree with the rating in that I think I remember I at the least gave it a 4-star. So I would say I agree with the rating Goodreads has. However, I don't know if I would say it's within the top 10 books that I've read. So that's interesting. Really good though. That rating to me makes sense because it is a fantastic series as well as a fantastic book. Specifically that book being number 10 is interesting. Okay. Number 10 is A Tale of Magic by Chris Colfer. So interesting. All right, what's number 9? Let's find out. The Promised Neverland, Volume 3. That is a manga series, which this is the only manga series I've read, and I think I only read the first 4. I know there's a lot in the series. That's really interesting. So the average rating for that one is 4.52. I don't own that one. The Promised Neverland series, like I said, is a manga, and it's about this orphanage, and all these kids are well taken care of, but then there's kind of more of a sinister reason why they're all at this orphanage, and it gets really dark really quick. And it's a really good manga series. There is actually an anime for it that's on Netflix, and I've watched some of that as well, and it follows the manga pretty darn closely, so it's really interesting. Wow, okay. That one also, that one surprises me. Okay, I will say I don't think I agree with the rating. It has a 4.52. Promised Neverland was more of a 3-star kind of thing for me. I enjoyed it. It's also the first manga series I've ever read, or a portion of I've read. So the formatting's different. I wasn't used to the type of emoting the characters have in the story, very strong emotional facial features and stuff that kind of pulls me out of the story a little bit. So I will say I wouldn't agree with it being as high a rating as it is, but that's just me personally. I know a lot of people obviously really love this series, so that's interesting. So Volume 3 of Promised Neverland, which I apologize, I don't know the name of the author, and I know if I did I would butcher the name anyways, but 4.52, interesting. Okay, all right, that one I don't really agree with, even though I think it's still really good. Not in my top 10 though. All right, number 8. What's number 8? Number 8, Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow. Oh my goodness. Where is that one? I don't know where it is right now. Oh, it's right behind me. Sorry. I was trying to remember the author. Jessica Townsend. This is Hollowpox. This is the 3rd book in the Nevermore series. And I would say I agree with this. It's a 4.54. This one is definitely my favorite in the series so far. I really liked it a lot. I think that's a well-deserved rating. I think I could agree, at least when it comes to middle grade, not overall every single book that I've read, but I would say when it comes to middle grade, this probably is within the top peak of the middle grades that I have read. I will say that. So I will agree in a way that this kind of hits the mark when it comes to top 10 in a way. It's really good though. So if you haven't heard of this series before, if you like something that kind of feels like Harry Potter, has sort of like that magic school kind of setting, I will highly recommend this one. It's really, really good. But my goodness. Okay, Hollowpox, number 8. Interesting. It has an average rating of 4.54. Nice. Okay. So, down to number 7. What's number 7 going to be? Worlds Collide, Land of Stories, number 6. Interesting. So, we've got 2 books from this Land of Stories series by Chris Colfer in my top 10. That is fascinating. All right, Worlds Collide is the very last book in the Land of Stories series, and it is an average rating of 4.54. Okay, I'm going to say I disagree with this. My favorite books within this series are books 1 and 2. I think those are the best one. They tend to go a little bit downhill for me as I go. I think when I read this one, I felt a little bit more detached from the series because it had been a little while since I had read some of these. Because I remember I read the first one after a couple more of them were already out. So I was able to read some of them back to back to back really quickly. And then after that, I started reading them as they came out. And at this point, I was reading them as they came out. And so I think I felt kind of disconnected. The book before this one, book number 5, I didn't really like that much. And so this one just finished out the series. And I don't agree that this was in my top 10. Actually, I really disagree that this was in my top 10. Again, this one was given a 4.54 average rating. I think this one might be closer to a 3, maybe 3.5 star for me. So yeah, I really don't agree with this. This is a really good book and a fantastic series, and I loved it. And I'm really surprised that 2 books from this kind of whole Land of Stories, Tale of Magic series is within my top 10. That's really fascinating. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of middle grades are up on the top. Have you noticed that? Huh. Okay. Middle grades be doing good on Goodreads. Okay. That was number 7. What's number 6? Let's see. I'm excited to see as I'm getting closer to my number 1. Number 6. Okay. This is not surprising me. The Nightingale by Christine Hanna has an average rating of 4.57. I do own this one, but it's way over there. I'm not going to go grab it right now. But it is an adult historical fiction, which I don't normally read. I think the reason I actually read that one is, one, I found it at Goodwill, so it was an extremely cheap price, and it was like in pristine condition. And I'd heard a lot about it and heard that people really loved it. I did hear it was a tearjerker though, so I was a little afraid to read it. But I was trying to read outside of my comfort zone. I did read it. It did make me cry. I sobbed at the end of that book, which books don't normally make me like, I'll tear up. I actually sobbed reading the end of that book. So this one has an average rating of a 4.57. I will say that I don't agree with that rating at that height. I think I gave it a 4 star. However, historical fiction, especially very like heavy historical fiction, is not my thing. It is not something I gravitate towards. As is evidenced in some of the other books that I've read in my top 10, which are middle grades. I usually don't lean towards adult heavier historical fiction. So this one I don't think I agree with, but I can see why it's in my top 10 because a lot of people really, really love The Nightingale. So I do recommend it. It's taken place during World War II. It's about 2 sisters and it hits hard. It hits really, really hard. Okay. That one didn't surprise me. I don't agree with it, but it doesn't surprise me. Okay. Number 5. I was wondering if this would come up. Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. This one does not surprise me because I know that has a very high rating on Goodreads. It has a 4.59, which is crazy high. Oh my goodness. So that's really nuts. All right, so Crooked Kingdom, if you haven't heard of that, it's part of like the whole, what's the name of it? It's the whole world that Leigh Bardugo created. with Shadow and Bone. I couldn't think of the word Shadow and Bone. It's part of like, there's a Shadow and Bone trilogy, then you have a Six of Crows duology, and if you happen to see the TV show on Netflix, then you will have seen the Six of Crows characters. Okay, so I'm in the minority. I enjoyed the Shadow and Bone trilogy more than the Six of Crows duology. Please don't come for me. I know that is not normal. Most people love Six of Crows way more than they loved the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I read Shadow and Bone before I read Six of Crows. You don't have to. You can read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom without reading the original trilogy, but I did read the original trilogy first, then read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I did enjoy them. However, I don't like heist stories. I have so much trouble getting into them. Not just for Six of Crows, but just any heist stories I struggle with. So I think that's why I didn't like it as much. So I would say I don't agree with this one. Definitely, at least for me. I think being at number 5, that's really high. And it's not one of my favorite books. I probably would give it like a 3.5, maybe 4 max when it comes to what I liked about it. So I would say I don't agree with this, but I'm not surprised. Because I think even with Meg with Books at her channel when she did this video, I think Crooked Kingdom was really high in her top 10 as well. So that doesn't surprise me at all with a 4.59 average rating. That's a very high rating. Okay. Woo! We are on to number 4. What's it going to be? Okay, number 4. Murder on the Rockport Limited? No way! How is this in the top 10? Okay, I don't have this one on hand. This is actually a graphic novel that my husband owns. And it is a graphic novel series that has been coming out that is a companion thing to a podcast called The Adventure Zone. It's this group of guys and they do D&D campaigns, Dungeons and Dragons campaigns together. And they're intentionally like goofy and funny about it. And they actually ended up creating a graphic novel series where it's still coming out. I think there's 3 or 4 of them out now and they've been coming out yearly. And my husband has the first few. I think the second one is Murder on the Rockport Limited. I am shocked. A 4.63 rating. I do not agree with this, okay? I don't agree. This should not be in my top 10. I don't agree with this. I think I gave this like a 3, maybe? I don't know. I love the podcast, and I feel like you can't really enjoy the graphic novel series as much unless you've listened to the podcast. And I even listened to the podcast, and I should have enjoyed it more. It was still good, but a 4.63 average rating for this. I don't agree with it. I think I gave it like 3 stars. Come on. Okay, I don't agree with this one. How is this number 4? How is this number 4? This is crazy. Okay, this is eye-opening for me. If you haven't tried this channel, like this video, you need to do this. Even if you don't have a channel, just go on your Goodreads and do it to average rating and see what your top 10 is. This is nuts. I don't agree with that one at all. That's nuts. Okay. Number 3. All right, what's number 3? Okay, here we go. All right, this is something I did ask my husband to do. I told him that if there were several Harry Potter books that ended up in the top 10, which I could see that happening because I have all the Harry Potter books in my read list. And I know obviously they're very highly rated. And I had a feeling that if Harry Potter was on that list, that maybe several of them would be on there, and I didn't want them to take up too much of the list. So he kind of combined them for me. He put Harry Potter, all of them, with book number 7 being the highest rated, Deathly Hallows, and an average rating of 4.62. All right, I'm going to expose myself a little bit here, so don't come for me. I have only read Deathly Hallows one time. I read it one time when it came out. That was a long time ago. A lot of the other books I've read several times. I have read books 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 several times. But for some reason, I only read book 7 once. That's crazy. So I can't say I know what my personal rating for Deathly Hallows is. I would think it's at least a 4 or a 5. So I can't say it's probably in my top 10 books because I don't really remember a lot of things that happened in it, I'm gonna be honest. I've only seen the last movie, movie number 8. I've only seen that one time. I've seen movies 1 through like 5 so many times, and then the last couple I haven't seen that much. So that's really interesting. Okay, Just FYI, my favorite Harry Potter book is number 4. My favorite Harry Potter movie is number 3. But I'm not surprised by this, but I don't know if I fully agree because I haven't read Deathly Hallows in an extremely long time. I need to reread it. But my goodness. 4.62. Okay. We're down to the last 2, peeps. Let's do this. All right, number 2. Beholding and Becoming the Art of Everyday Worship. Trying to remember the name. I can't remember the name of the author for this one. This is a nonfiction Christian book, kind of devotional-ish. I wish I had it with me. It's actually at work right now, and it is so pretty. It has beautiful artwork in it, and each kind of chapter is about how we are to worship in our everyday lives, in the mundane, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and I learned so much of it, and I need to reread it. It kind of looks like a coffee table book though, because it's pretty decent size. It's got a pretty big footprint, and it's got gorgeous art in it, so it's also more of like an art book than it is just a sit and read book. It's so pretty. This has an average rating of 4.69. I agree with how good it was. I think I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and it was really impactful for me. I will do a nonfiction video sometime this year before the end of the year, because I've actually read a decent amount of nonfiction, but I don't normally talk about it on my channel. So I'll probably do one video showing some nonfiction I've read this year. And this is one that I read at the very beginning of the year. So I would say I agree with the rating. I agree with the rating. I don't agree with it being like in my top 10 books that I've read, because I'm a fiction reader. I love reading fiction. I'm not a huge fan of reading nonfiction or self-help as much. Not that I'm saying I don't enjoy them. Not saying that they aren't important. They're very important. But I love reading fiction. I love escaping into a story. And so I wouldn't say this is in my top 10. But I do agree with the rating though, because it was very good. All right. I'm nervous. I'm nervous to see my number 1. I'm nervous about this. Okay. Whew. All right. What's my number 1 book according to Goodreads? I'm going to be shocked, I bet. Okay. I'm not surprised, but I wish it would have been a fiction. It's a nonfiction. Gentle and Lowly, The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers. This is another nonfiction book. And this one is about how Jesus is there for the gentle and he is gentle and lowly, and he's there for those who feel lowly. And it was a very impactful book for me, and I did really love it. It's got a 4.7 average rating. I'm really surprised that my top 2 books are nonfiction. Interesting. I wonder why these are so highly rated. Not that I don't agree with them. It's got a 4.7. I think I also gave this one 5 stars. So I agree with the rating, but is it weird to say I'm a little disappointed that the top 2 books are nonfiction? That's disappointing to me. I don't know why that is. I shouldn't be disappointed by that. Okay. Well, that was a really interesting experiment to kind of find out what was on there. Some of them really shocked me. These were all genuine reactions. I had not seen this list at all. Thank you to my sweet hubby for writing all these down for me. Do me a favor. If you have a Goodreads account, why don't you do this? List down below either your top 10 or just list down below what is your number 1 book that you've read according to Goodreads. And let me know if it was a surprise for you. I'd be really interested to know that. So please let me know down below, what is your number 1 book average rating according to Goodreads that you've read? I would be very interested to know what your top 1 is. Okay, this was a lot of fun. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun filming it. On this side of the video over here is my logo. If you click on that, you can subscribe to my channel and join me on my book journey. I would love to have you here. On this side of the video over here is a suggestion for another video if you want to watch another one right now. But thank you so much for watching. You rock, and don't forget to keep reading. Bye!